sites for to be used for various projects, and I was also involved in various college initiatives at the site. Uh, After that, I have started this company of my own called Sense CR. Sense CR is all about training and consulting services in clinical research. We conduct 1 and 2 day workshops in clinical research for various job profiles in clinical research, that is for study coordinators, for site monitors, for principal investigators. And our trainings are completely practical oriented. That is, we focus on how do we have to do various activities in clinical research and why do we do them, rather than just focusing on what has to be done. We focus on the concept of doing various activities, and then we provide various consulting services to CROs and sponsor companies. So that's in brief about us. So over to you, Dan.
Yeah, now, in the United States, there's a lot of, I guess, critics of clinical trials in India. Like today, I don't know if you read the Fierce CRO article. The headline, I think it's unfair. The headline starts out with, there was 400 deaths in clinical trials in India last year. So, I mean, India's a huge country. Of course, you can have deaths in clinical trials, right? But why do you think there's so much criticism about clinical trials in India from the West?
See, I guess one thing which I would like to say here is about the role of media. Basically, what the media does is they come to know about something and they just publish it. They do not check whether how valid that particular report is. Like about I think 2 3 years back, there was a report about a lot of deaths in infants in AIMS Hospital in Delhi uh, due to clinical trials, and that had created a buzz in the media. But then later on, it was found that most of those deaths were not because of clinical trials, but that was because of the natural. I mean, those were natural deaths due to the normal condition of the infants. So that is one reason that even though many of these things could not be related to clinical trials, but media, without doing their own research, they publish these kind of reports. And apart from that, of course, in India, currently the regulatory status is a little, I would say, it's not supporting the conduct of clinical trials in India currently, because the regulatory approvals, they're taking a lot of time right now because of the current change in the Drug Controller General of India. So as of now, the regulatory status is a bit negative for conduct of clinical trials in India, but then I'm sure that's a very temporary phase, because apart from this, the regulatory of India, that is the regulatory body of India, they are also taking some very stern steps, and they're building up some very strong guidelines, which in future are definitely going to support the trials in India. So
Yeah.
it is probably a very temporary phase that we are facing right now.
Yeah, can you share a little bit about the recent incident that happened with the CRO and the study being, I guess, canceled, or just they weren't allowed to do the study anymore? What was the story behind that?
Uh, Frankly, I don't know much about that particular incident. Even I've just read that headline that 400 uh, participants they died. I currently do not have much knowledge about that particular incident.
Okay, have you heard of incidents where clinical trials sponsored by drug companies from the U.S. were shut down in India due to different reasons, maybe ethical issues or safety issues?
Are you talking about some specific incident?
No, just in general. Are you aware of any that have occurred, like in the last year? Because I've read several. I just can't recall them now. But there was several examples of clinical trials being halted in India from various CROs for different issues. I'm not sure if there's any truth to that.
Uh, no, I mean there have been a report of some unethical clinical trials in Madhya Pradesh, which is a state in India. So that report is definitely there. But again, in that, I'm not sure who the sponsor was.
Okay.
There has been a report of unethical trials in Madhya Pradesh being conducted, and legal action has been taken against a couple of doctors involved in that particular clinical trial.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
for the most part in India, what type of subjects, what type of participants are usually recruited for trials?
Participants, it actually ranges. Like if you go to these big corporate hospitals, the big the multi-speciality big private hospitals, there you will find all educated and educated people who would be a part of the clinical trials as participants. However, if you go to these government hospitals, then there would be a mix of, you can say, the poor economic status patients and middle class and rich patients. So it's a mix, but yeah, most of the patients I would say would be from the poor background, because that is the maximum population in India. So
Right.
obviously they are the ones who become a part of clinical trials.
Because they're the biggest population in India. So
Right.
it's not that
Yeah.
they're being recruited, it's just they happen to be poor.
Right.
Okay. Because I think the misconception here in the States is that the poor people in India are specifically being targeted for joining studies.
No, it's not like that. I mean, at least for the phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 trials, I do not have much exposure, and hence I'm not in a position to comment on that. But for phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 trials, it's not that specifically poor patients are targeted, but as I said, majority of the population in India, like if you go to these government hospitals, would be poor, so automatically they are the ones who get targeted.
Okay. Now, as we wrap up here, tell me a little bit about the job market and the clinical trial job market in India.
Okay. Currently for freshers, that is for the ones who've just completed their graduation or post graduation, it's going very tough actually, because companies are quite stringent about having experienced candidates only. So for freshers, they're facing a very tough time getting a job, like even a job as a trainee CRA or as a coordinator in some hospital. It's becoming tough currently. But yeah, once you enter the field and after an experience of about 2 to 3 years, then things are easy as a. Of course, it would depend upon your own experience and your own skill set that you've developed.
Right. Well, thank you, Shilpa, for the interview, and we'll do another one next week. We'll have 4 or 5 people on the show. We'll do a spreecast. I'm added you on Facebook now, so we can maybe coordinate the. We can do a better job
Definitely.
of coordinating the spreecast.
Yeah, sure then. Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Shilpa, and this is Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Take care.